So welcome back to part 3 of this series. So if you watched the other 2 videos, thank you for coming back. If you didn't watch the others, you can jump in here or go back and begin there. And I'm really encouraged by the feedback people have given in email and text and phone and messenger, and the comments really resonate. It means a lot to hear people are into what we're talking about. So thank you. Please keep giving us more. So we're going to talk about what's important with the impending invasion of technology into sports and the movement therapy industries and what you can do about this disruption. So in the first video, though, we talked about functional expertise, a strategy anyone can follow to live a life of mastery and pursue their kind of empire and their growing their reach. In the second one, we talked about the cultural performance secret of focusing on the bottom 20% of a system to yield the best results and an amazing culture at the same time. And also about the doomsday scenario, which we'll follow up on today. In the doomsday scenario, like I said, the invasion of technology into the movement learning business for sports and therapy. And most importantly, the understanding that the disruptive product doesn't have to be equal to or better than an experience of working with you. It only has to be good enough for what I termed mass adoption. And really no one knows yet what the bar of mass adoption is, but there is one. And the tech companies will keep spending billions until they find it. So it's your job to have a plan for that day because it will happen. So there are many critical factors pushing the technology landscape, ranging from phones being in your hand to the improvement of tracking cameras, even inside those phones, to a variety of wearables and data we can pull from them. And one we're especially proud of home teaming for a bit is our own ECOS technology. So learners being able to copy motor movement of experts using brain science and smartphones, remotely or in person, that's pretty awesome. And we actually did an outcome case study earlier this year designed by a PhD where 50 high school swimmers, and we had a control group in that and an ECOS group as equally distributed as possible. And the ECOS group used ECOS for 8 weeks, and other than that, they did nothing different except ECOS in that time. And in that time, we tested improvements of their 100 freestyle best time, and the year-round swimmers, which means they swim about 11 months out of the year, improved an average of 3 full seconds more than the control group. And that's a race that takes between 45 seconds and a minute for most high schoolers that swim year-round. So that's a lot. 3 seconds is a ton. But for the pure high school swimmers who only swim high school, so their skills are less developed in most cases, the ECOS group actually improved 8 seconds more than the control group. So that's eight full seconds, and that even blew me away. And this is defensible. It's being turned into a paper we're going to publish scientifically. So we believe the data and testing protocol are valid and meet a scientific standard. 8 seconds. I mean, anyways, that blows me away. But learning motor movement from your smartphone, another new technology, kind of is an example of things that exist. And there are other things out there that we haven't seen yet that are also game changers, which is much different from what a DVD offers you, or even a YouTube video for that matter. So I promise we talk about what to do, so we'll get to it. But before, if you're interested in finding out more kinds of those things, check out ecosuniversity.com for a cool article on Tim Cook, who's a top 100 golf pro in the world. His experience with an injured student of his, improving his swing while using ECOS, just sitting on the sofa when he couldn't actively practice for 7 weeks. And in that time period, his swing actually got better. It's pretty amazing. But anyway, so as we get in the what to do, I'll address some of the top comments or questions you guys asked as response to these videos. So the first one, and this is a big one, and I'm glad somebody brought it up, that you can't replace human interaction. Hey, I coached a long time. I'm with you. And at some point, that's 100% true. But just a different point of view, and this is going to upset you maybe, that, as an example, you hear a lot that there's nothing like live music. And there isn't. but you still listen to your iPod and you still listen to the radio. And you can listen to it whenever you want, and it's cheap, and it's good, and it's predictable, and it's accessible. And you're in control of when you do it. So if the outcome is good enough, yeah, I mean, even if you can't replace the human interaction, if the outcome is good enough, like I said, we don't know what that bar is. That's something to pay attention to. But I'm with you. The human interaction will always be most rewarding for everyone involved, especially working with an expert. I'm only offering thoughts kind of from the edge of the front end of technology, looking back into the sports and therapy communities and giving insight as to what's coming. So number 2, so somebody says, I hear what you're saying. Actually, we heard this a lot. I want to grow my impact and my empire and want to be ready as the landscape changes, but I don't know what to do. So we'll get to that one in a bit. That's kind of what we're here to talk about today. Third one, I don't have money to build my facility. So this is a big one also. So I said at the end of the last talk, I have, for 15 years now, my own facility company, kind of sports facility company, along with my team, that I would do things differently now. Basically with the changes in the business opportunity, that I would do differently than what I did before by following kind of that traditional path. Now, before I say anything, I'll say, go with your dream. So who am I to tell you what your dream should be? But I ask, and this is a really important question if you have this kind of facility image in your mind, do you want to own a facility because you want to run that business and be liable for that loan and all that stuff 20 years from now? Or 15, I guess. Making it sound bad on purpose because I lived it. It's a difficult thing. But if you really want to run that business, then pursue it. And feel free to ask questions of me offline. I'll do my best to answer. But if you're just looking to build your impact and control your life and your future, there are much better options now, in my opinion. Because that is such a big commitment to get off the ground, as most of you know. Not the upfront capital required. But the hard part actually comes the day you're open. People think it's the build cost. Operations are the killer on time, on money, on energy, and on passion. And it wears on many people over time if they're just not into running that business. And it's a really big pill to swallow, and it doesn't go away once it's yours. So an offshoot. So I don't have the money, or I don't know how to start even kind of building my website or my app or build a new product like Ecos. So again, we're going to hold off on that one because that's what we're here to talk about. So, but kind of coming back out. So I really appreciate those comments because they're what many people are thinking, but they don't ask. And I've thought these things too, and kind of looking at this whole perception. It's influenced my point of view. So an overall big view, kind of jumping back out. Some range of this tech invasion is going to happen for sports and therapy. And this may be more palatable to the disbelievers of a mass adoption. The range will be from, on one end, integration of what you're already doing, and on the other end, replacement. And all of this is going to happen. Where and how much? Which side of it will be weighted towards more integration or more towards replacement? Will depend on the industry, as in whether you're vertical in sport or therapy, and it'll also depend on the strata or the level of the learner. What kind of quality of experience they're looking for. As in, people interested in a greater experience will likely stay on the integration side, where they still work with you heavily, mostly in person. And more casual users or busy people will be more on the replacement side. And all of this will evolve over time, but remember, the people who work with you are working with an expert. And there are billions of people out there without easy access to an expert. And those people have limitation on time, geography, financial issues, and anything else you can think of. And the better the tech gets towards mass adoption, the more in jeopardy you are in this. And as in, there are other kind of things out there that we haven't even talked about that are even scarier. Like, as an example, the motor learning equivalent of like Pokemon Go happens to, say, the training world, the personal training world. whatever that would look like. I don't even know what that looks like. And it's driven by technology experience, not by you. If you're in that industry, you'll get hit, and you'll get hit hard. And I'm afraid to say, something like that will be out there. Even if it's an inferior product, it doesn't have to be as good. And I keep repeating that because it's important to understand that mass adoption doesn't have to be as good. So we're getting to the answer finally. So what does that adoption translate to in your favor? So how can you benefit from it? If you know it'll happen, your plan has to be to put yourself in a position to benefit. And think about the beginning of the internet as a whole for many companies now. Some survived, some didn't. This is the same kind of timing in the evolution of business. Don't ignore that comment. Just looking at the macro view. So the confluence of opportunity is just as present as those early internet days. And if you're old enough, don't you wish you got involved then? But that's a different conversation. So in my opinion, if we look around at other models, other industries, the best option, if you're not a billionaire, is a publishable platform. So what does that mean? Publishable platform. So it's kind of best by giving examples of other publishable platforms. So have you heard of Facebook or Amazon or Airbnb or YouTube, the app stores themselves, maybe Fiverr, Instagram, Alibaba, and some others out there. So in a publishable platform, the content provider, so the expert in the best cases, which can be monetized, is the value add to the technology. So the worth, the connection, the true meaning comes from the expert or the content provider. So as an example in this, so how many times have you heard, oh, YouTube changed my life? It's not that. It's people say that TED Talk changed my life. The TED Talk is the expert. It's the value add. YouTube only provides the opportunity, the technology opportunity for the TED Talk to acquire a much bigger value than a live talk series in California somewhere, that series would have likely never grown past California without YouTube or an online platform, which is a great example and a great lesson for you to consider. So the way to fight what comes out of the hardware or software development driven solutions of technology, the way to fight is a publishable platform. As in, unless you can make a VR gaming experience or a complex app experience or a wearable on your own, you're at their mercy, except in this publishable platform model. And lest you forget, 3 of the top few most valuable companies in the world aren't in old school manufacturing or even tech manufacturing. They're in the publishable platform model. Facebook, Amazon, Alibaba, with others just right on their heels that are growing, many that you know about. So this isn't a weak play. That's how powerful it is. And in my opinion, Amazon will actually be the most valuable company in the world, but that's an opinion. Don't go invest in them because I said so. And they offer, in all of these platforms, at least the majority of them, offer a low barrier of entry to build your business, to provide reach, to provide a significant, sophisticated technology experience that you don't really have to pay to develop in a volume of people looking to buy. So before I get to my biased opinion, my thoughts would be generically to look at publishable platforms out there and look at ways to integrate technology to augment for complementary experiences for your current learners, kind of away from your facility, the facility you're in now, or even the one you're considering in the future, to magnify your learner's impact. So this hybrid model would be an easy option to consider, as in, if you were treating patients and you knew their smartwatch went 10,000 steps per day, or things like that, if that was a goal that you had for them. And, integrating experience, being able to magnify your influence and their value. And it gives a step into understanding, kind of a simple step, into understanding how all of this will work. And that goes for coaches as well as therapists. So imagine if you had kind of an interactive component to your practice on a mobile device. Your athletes are on mobile devices anyway, so they may as well get a positive benefit. And from my biased opinion, and it's biased because it's something we're doing at ECOS, and if you don't want to hear this part, if you don't want to hear my biased opinion, go ahead and skip ahead, it's fine. But I've been thinking about this inflection point, this intersection of motor learning and technology. I've been thinking about for a long time. Because of that, we've actually built a publishable platform. It's kind of like an app store within an app store. app store within an app store. By request or by invite, we're actually taking people in and creating their own Ecos channel with them. So we're teaching them to fish in this new ocean. And it's a good profit center as an idea. So if you have, as an example, if you have 600 people in your channel, you would make between $80,000 and $115,000 per year on average. And there's more detail to that, but for many, it provides a freedom to be in control of their life. And if you really don't using that facility model, if you really don't want to run a facility every day of your life, this is what I mean by there may be different opportunities, not just ours, where you can get what you want, control of your life, better financial freedom, and so on, without that huge kind of upfront and long-term burden. So we built this to help coaches and moving professionals to be in control of their future. Like I said, with coaches being kind of fired for dumb reasons, and the uncertainty every few years with the policy of healthcare and the onslaught of technology, like I've been talking about, people want some kind of control over their own life. Industry professionals do. They want freedom to choose, influence their path, and of course they do. So we built this platform magnified by our effective motor learning technology, that I exemplified in the beginning of this talk, and it's a publishable platform. So think, YouTube for meaningful motor learning, kind of remotely or in person. And we've already won awards for it. In the near future, while I'm geeking out, and I apologize, we've also built a publishable smart clothing motion capture suit, where the expert puts the suit on, performs the movement in a way that they want it done, say of a perfect squat, and the suit records kind of that motion data. And that movement data, a record of that squat, goes into that expert's own channel inside our publishable platform, inside kind of our app store within the app store. So when the learner goes to learn from the expert's squat, if they're wearing their own suit, the motion that they just performed gets compared to the expert's motion and recorded to show progress and all that other stuff, and where they're most different from the expert. And the suit itself is machine washable, it's very inexpensive, and we believe it'll end up being super accurate, it's being calibrated right now, but the chips themselves are accurate. So the learning is publishable, your content, your model, your instruction of what's important, and the feedback, the motion feedback is all publishable. So it's a complete loop of learning, which you can engage in person or remotely. So it means you can have a remote experience that's valuable to anybody in the world. And one expert recently called this as important as the printing press, like it's a printing press for the movement industry. And that's a big statement, and I'm biased, but I don't think they're that far off. But how cool is that? I mean, so it's a publishable because we don't want to be the expert or think we're the expert in everything. We don't want some kind of avatar that says this is the way to do X. You're the expert. We're giving you the tools the same way you get to a much bigger market selling hard goods through Amazon. And I apologize for going deep for a couple minutes. I'm just excited about it. It's my passion now to help experts connect expertise to learners. So back to the non-bias, you can open your ears again if you didn't want to hear that. So there are other sports platforms and therapy platforms out there which highlight other connection points like paying. So V1 Sports is a very good model for that, or just video. And YouTube and Vimeo, there's just still great options. Or kind of communication through kind of more traditional teaching like Udemy, which is a great app for learning anything. So those are worth checking out for a variety of reasons. And you just need to decide which aspects are important for you to kind of relate to your clients, your customers, your patients, your athletes, and then explore, what can do what. In a couple days, we're posting a video talking about kind of a hands-on class we're giving at ecosuniversity.com, where we teach you to build your channel and promote it with live human feedback from us over time, over the period of the class. And we actually only have a limited number of spots and may or may not continue to do it live in the future. So if you're interested in building your own channel, expanding your reach, pay attention to that by logging on ecosuniversity.com. And when I started out, I didn't intend to talk about this stuff. I just meant to get to kind of what you can do. But I really believe it's a great option. And I apologize for home teaming in a bit, like I said, but you have to talk about what you believe in, and at least give consideration for that. But we're really interested in your feedback. We do want to know what you want to know, what questions you have in this evolution and opportunity, which is very like the beginnings of the internet. So consider it that way, because it's really that important. And thank you for coming, joining us, and listening. And please give us feedback.